I got it! Slow down! Jesus Christ! Jesus! Oh my God! You did it!
What if the Upside Down is not a dimension at all, but Vecna's soul jar? We are all supposed to accept that it is just a dark mirror world, a twisted version of Hawkins where monsters live, vines crawl over houses, and ash falls from the sky forever. The mission is simple: close the gates, blow up the tunnels, stop the spread. But if you look at how D&D actually handles Vecna, and you look at how strange the Upside Down really is, that story stops making sense. I do not think the Upside Down is just another world. I think it is Vecna's phylactery. In D&D, Vecna is not scary because he is hard to hit. He is scary because he cannot die the normal way. He is a lich. That means his soul is not in his body. It is stored in a phylactery, a hidden container that holds his true essence. You can burn his body, crush his bones, scatter his ashes. It doesn't matter. If the phylactery is still intact, Vecna comes back. The only real way to beat him is to find the thing his soul is bound to and destroy that. Now think about the Upside Down. Time in that world is frozen on November 6th, 1983. The night Will Byers disappears. Clocks do not move. Calendar pages do not turn. It is like Hawkins got copied and then paused. That is not how a living universe behaves. That is how a recording behaves. A snapshot, a preserved moment. That is exactly what a phylactery does. It traps a soul in a fixed state so it cannot drift or fade. The Upside Down is not evolving. It is rotting. It is stuck, like a corpse that will not decompose because something is still clinging to it. And look at what fills that frozen world. The Mind Flayer's web of particles. The storm that Will draws as a giant spider. The vines in the tunnels under the pumpkin fields. All of it connects back into one nerve system. One brain. One will. Vecna does not just live in this place. He is this place. So here is the theory. When Vecna became whatever he is now, when he bound himself to the power behind the Upside Down, he did not tuck his soul into a little box or an amulet. He poured it into an entire mirror version of Hawkins and sealed it on the day it was most vulnerable. The day he finally got a perfect anchor. The night Will Byers vanished. Will is the first human the Upside Down fully takes without killing. He does not die in a week. He hides. He sings. He resists, but he still changes. The world copies Hawkins at the exact moment he is dragged in, then locks the file. From then on, Will is not just a victim. He is the center. He feels cold when the Mind Flayer is near. His neck tingles when the shadow is close. He knows where it is without seeing it. That is not normal PTSD. That is a live link to whatever intelligence is living inside that frozen Hawkins copy. He is tied to the phylactery. Every time the Mind Flayer pushes into our world, it uses Will as a relay, as a beacon. He says he can feel it. He can sense what it wants. That is exactly what would happen if the soul jar that keeps Vecna alive was anchored to a kid who happened to be there when it solidified. And that leads to a very simple, very scary idea. You cannot kill Vecna by beating him in a fistfight. You have to destroy the Upside Down. Right now, everyone in the show thinks the goal is to close gates and block paths. Hopper swings swords. Nancy loads shotguns. 11 opens and shuts portals like they are doors. But that is all surface level. They are attacking the castle while the soul sits safe in the vault. If the Upside Down is the phylactery, then the final mission cannot just be go there and fight Vecna. It has to be go there and break the world itself. And the only person who can do that is Will. Because Will is not just connected to the Upside Down. He is synced to that first moment. That night in 1983 is tattooed into him. The show keeps pulling him back to it. The fort, the bike, the song he sang to stay alive. Those memories are not just sad flashbacks. They are the original save file. In D&D, destroying a phylactery is not easy. Sometimes you need a special ritual. Sometimes you need a specific person. Sometimes you need to use the Lich's own magic against him. It is never simple. So picture Stranger Things 5 leaning into that. The party finally understands that Vecna keeps coming back because they have never touched his true core. 11 can fight him in the mindscape. The others can blow up his body. But unless someone rewrites or corrupts the Upside Down itself, he will always find a way to reform. So their plan changes. They stop trying to just slam the door. They decide to delete the entire file. Will goes into the Upside Down one last time. Not as bait, not as a hostage, but as the only person who can reach the heart of that frozen world and change it. 11 goes with him to boost his reach, not to be the main weapon, but to amplify what is already inside him. The others defend their bodies in the real Hawkins while this happens. 2 battles at once, one in streets full of vines and monsters, one inside the phylactery where reality is stuck on repeat. And here is the level 20 twist. Will does not beat Vecna by overpowering him. He beats him by pressing play. He lets the frozen knight finally move. He takes this perfect preserved version of Hawkins that Vecna has been hiding in and pushes it forward. Time starts again. Lights change. The world that once belonged to Vecna's soul becomes a thing that can age, change, and die. A phylactery cannot do its job if it is no longer a still container. If the Upside Down starts to rot for real, if its rules start to shift, then the soul stored inside it is no longer safe. Vecna loses his anchor. And because Will is bound to that moment, there is a cost. If he is the anchor that ties 1983 Hawkins to this soul jar, then unhooking it might unhook him too. Maybe his body cannot handle the break. Maybe his memories burn out with the world he is destroying. Maybe he survives, but never remembers what happened. Either way, it is not 11 who gets the classic lich-killing moment. It is Will. The quiet kid who has been haunted since the first episode becomes the one who finally snaps the chain. He is not just the boy Vecna chose first. He is the boy who rejects him last. So I do not think Stranger Things ends with the Upside Down just being another dimension that gets closed like a door. I think it ends with the reveal that the Upside Down has always been Vecna's soul jar, that Will has always been the anchor, and that the only way to truly win is to let the kid who was taken on that first night be the one who breaks the whole thing apart. Whether you think Will survives that or not, tell me in the comments what you think his final scene looks like. And if you are still watching, drop Soul Jar down below so I know you are part of the party.
How does any of this make sense?
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly, you don't know, because you haven't put any thought into anything you've been doing tonight. You've been acting on impulse, on emotion, everything I taught you not to do.
What if 11 was never meant to be the hero of Stranger Things at all? We're all supposed to believe she's the party's wizard, the nuclear option, the girl who showed up, flipped a van, closed the gate, and saved Hawkins. End of story. But the more you look at where her power comes from, and the more you compare it to how Dungeons & Dragons actually treats Vecna, the more it feels like we've misunderstood her role completely. I'm convinced 11 isn't the party's mage. She's Vecna's Sword of Chaos. In D&D lore, Vecna doesn't just have a right-hand man, he has a weapon, the Sword of Chaos, a legendary blade he forges himself, pouring his own power into it. It's designed to be unstoppable, cursed, hungry, the ultimate tool to wipe out his enemies. And then the story does something insane. That sword turns on him. Cass, the wielder, uses the very weapon Vecna made, the very power Vecna gave him, and in a single moment of betrayal, he strikes Vecna down. The weapon meant to secure Vecna's rule becomes the thing that ends it. The fallout destroys them both. That is not just a cool twist. That is the blueprint for 11. Look at how she comes into the story. She doesn't grow up in Hawkins like the others. She doesn't discover powers naturally. She doesn't unlock anything by accident. She is built, crafted, shaped in a lab under fluorescent lights and cameras. She is literally an experiment. Brenner doesn't raise a daughter. He forges a weapon. He gives her a number, not a name.
Today, we make contact.
He breaks her down with sensory deprivation, trauma, and conditioning, all to sharpen one thing: her ability to reach into a dimension no human should touch and pull its power into our world. That is exactly what Vecna does with the Sword of Kos. Vecna takes his own magic, his own essence, and channels it into a blade that someone else can swing. Brenner, and whatever is behind Brenner, takes the power of the Upside Down, of the Mind Flayer, and channels it into a child that someone else can point. Everyone tells Eleven she's special, but the show keeps quietly asking a different question. Special to who? Think about when her powers show up and vanish. They don't work like a normal power curve. She doesn't just get stronger. She spikes when the emotional stakes are highest, when she's terrified of losing Mike, when she's furious, when she's replaying trauma. Those moments aren't calm mastery. They're surges, overloads. That's not a girl lifting weights. That's a cursed weapon being overclocked. And here's the part we almost never talk about. The first time 11 really uses her power, she doesn't close anything. She opens it. She's the reason the original gate to the Upside Down exists. Her mind reaches across, touches something in the dark, and reality tears open. If you're Vecna, or whatever intelligence is inside the Mind Flayer, that is ideal. You now have a perfect conduit in the human world, a girl who thinks she is fighting you, while every use of her power deepens the connection to your realm. Every time she strains, screams, and bleeds to save the people she loves, she's also pouring energy into the very network you control. That's what the Sword of Kos is, a weapon designed for one purpose, built by the villain, that doesn't realize who it truly serves until the very end. So here's the theory. 11's powers are not pure. They are not clean. They are not just hers. They're upside-down power routed through a human soul. She is a living artifact, the Sword of Kos in human form. And in Stranger Things 5, Vecna is going to try to use the weapon he made exactly the way D&D Vecna does. Not just as a threat, as a final guarantee. Picture the final battle. The Upside Down is spilling into Hawkins. Gates are open everywhere. Vines, spores, storms. Vecna thinks he has every angle covered. The party throws everything they have at him. Fire, bullets, Molotovs, axes, music, memories. It all slows him down, but it doesn't finish him. Because you don't kill a level 20 lich with party tricks. You need something built on his level. You need the sword he made. That's when Vecna stops trying to crush 11 and starts trying to control her. He leans into the connection that's always been there. He taunts her with her past, with Brenner, with her mother, with every person she failed to save. He doesn't want to break her body. He wants to break her mind. If he can push her far enough, she'll pour everything she has into the fight. She'll rip open whatever barrier is left between worlds and unleash enough power to reshape reality. And he is absolutely certain that whatever she does in that state will ultimately benefit him. Because she is built on his power source. It's the same arrogance Vecna shows in D&D. He believes that because he forged the Sword of Kos, he owns it. He believes that because he poured his magic into it, no blow it strikes can truly hurt him. And just like in D&D, that's the miscalculation that destroys him, because eventually the weapon realizes what it is. At some point in that final fight, 11 is going to understand that she's not just their champion. She's the bridge. She's the channel. She's the reason Vecna can reach this far at all. The person Brenner turned into a gun is also the safety lock keeping Vecna from fully manifesting. She's not just the only person who can reach him. She's the only person who can reach the power behind him and decide where it goes. So the real Kaz moment is not 11 pushing harder. It's 11 turning the blade around. Instead of dumping all that power into punches and force fields and giant psychic beams, she aims it at the source behind Vecna, at the network of particles, at the Mind Flayer storm, at the thing in the dark that's been feeding on her whole life. She takes the connection that's been used to manipulate her since birth and burns it out from the inside. That kills Vecna. That severs the Upside Down's grip on Hawkins. But just like the Sword of Chaos, there's a cost. You don't get to destroy the weapon and keep using it. If 11 really is Vecna's sword, then the only way to win is for that sword to break. She doesn't just beat him and go home with her powers. She wins by choosing to let the thing that makes her special die with him. She walks away as a normal girl, or she doesn't walk away at all. Either way, the story suddenly clicks into place. Brenner didn't accidentally create humanity's savior. He accidentally gave Vecna the one weapon that could kill him. A weapon that learned how to choose. So I don't think Stranger Things ends with 11 simply overpowering Vecna in a flashy boss fight. I think it ends with her realizing what she really is, turning that power against the thing that forged it, and breaking the entire system, even if it means breaking herself. Whether you think 11 survives that or not, tell me in the comments how you see her ending. And if you're still watching, drop Sword of L down below so I know you're part of the party.
Found a nest of black widows living inside of that. Most people fear spiders. They detest them. And yet, I found them endlessly fascinating. Found a great comfort in them. The kinship. Like me, they are solitary creatures and deeply misunderstood.
What if Stranger Things has been lying to us about Vecna from the start? We're all supposed to believe the mystery is solved. Henry Creel is 001. 001 is Vecna. Vecna is the Mind Flayer's general. Roll credits, theory over. But the more you look at how Dungeons & Dragons actually treats Vecna, and the more you look at Henry's story, the more something feels off. I'm still convinced Henry Creel isn't Vecna at all. He's in the role of Kaz the Bloody-Handed.
They are gods of our world. They immobilize and feed on the weak, bringing balance and order to an unstable ecosystem. But the human world was disrupting this harmony. Humans are a unique type of pest, multiplying, poisoning our world, all while enforcing a structure of their own.
If you know your D&D lore, Vecna isn't just another big bad. He's the level 20 problem, the kind of lich that no normal party can beat straight up. Even the gods are scared of him, and the only reason Vecna ever falls is because of Cass. Cass starts out as a good man, a loyal lieutenant, a hero type who gets twisted, corrupted, and turned into a monster by Vecna himself. Vecna literally gives Cass his power. He forges the one weapon that can kill him, puts it in Cass's hand, and thinks he's still in control. Cass becomes a brutal, vampiric enforcer. But in a single moment of clarity, Cass turns, swings that sword, and deals the killing blow that destroys Vecna, and destroys himself. That is not the story of a pure villain. That is the story of Henry Creel. Look at Henry before the Creel House massacre. Strip away the horror framing for a second. You've got a quiet, sensitive boy in a broken family, stuck in a world he doesn't understand, terrified by the cruelty he sees around him. He feels the world is a cruel, hateful place, and instead of anyone helping him, he's shipped off to Brenner and turned into a lab rat. That's not a mustache-twirling villain origin. That's a Cass setup. Cass was a good person who got rewritten by Vecna's magic. Henry is a good person who got rewritten by the Mind Flayer and Brenner's experiments. We watch him get pushed, carved up, literally numbered. 001 isn't a name, it's a brand, it's ownership. And here's the key detail. Henry never calls himself Vecna. The name Vecna comes from the kids at the table. Just like the Demogorgon, just like the Mind Flayer, they're using D&D language to describe something they don't fully understand. The show has always separated the naming the party uses from the true nature of what's going on in the Upside Down. So what if Henry isn't Vecna in the D&D sense at all? What if Henry is Cass, and the real Vecna is the entity behind the Mind Flayer? Think about how the Mind Flayer is framed. It's not just a monster, it's a shape, a concept, a storm made of particles. Will describes it like a presence in his mind, watching, feeling, waiting. This thing has been around long before Henry. He doesn't create it, he connects to it. He becomes its favorite piece on the board. Cass serves Vecna. Henry serves the Mind Flayer. Cass is given monstrous power. Henry is given monstrous power. Cass is twisted into something almost undead. Henry is literally shredded apart and rebuilt into the vine-covered creature we call Vecna, hanging there like a puppet on dark nerves. Even visually, he looks less like a self-contained villain and more like a conduit, a channel, a body wired into something much worse. And just like Cass, Henry seems to have these flashes of humanity under all the horror. Listen to the way he talks to Eleven in the lab. He isn't wrong about Brenner. He isn't wrong about the abuse. He isn't wrong that they are both prisoners. You can feel that human boy still in there, even as his worldview is being warped into something lethal. It's the same tragic energy as Cass, a once good man who's been bent so far he can't see the light anymore. So here's the first theory. Henry Creel is Kaz the Bloody-Handed, not Vecna. He's the corrupted lieutenant, the weapon, the puppet wrapped in vines. And in Stranger Things 5, we're going to find out that the real Vecna is the mind behind the Mind Flayer, the true Lich, the thing that turned Henry into this undead-like horror in the first place. That solves the level 20 Vecna problem perfectly. You don't beat a god-tier villain by having 11 just push harder. You beat him the way D&D beats him. You make his own champion turn on him. You make K's remember who he was. Now here's the second theory. What if Cass isn't Henry at all? What if Cass is Will Byers? Will is the first kid the Upside Down really chooses. He's the one who survives a full week in that nightmare when he should have died. He's the one who sings, who hides, who fights, and lives. When everyone else comes back, traumatized, but clean, Will comes back with something still inside him. He's cold all the time. He feels the Mind Flayer. His neck tingles. He knows when the shadow is near. That connection never fully goes away. That's exactly what you'd expect if he's being set up as Cass. Cass is Vecna's right hand, but he's also his greatest mistake. Will is perfectly positioned to become that. He's quiet, sensitive, and has already been used as a spy, a puppet, a vessel. And for 4 seasons, the show has made it clear. Will still feels like the outsider in his own party. He's the kid who got left behind socially, emotionally, romantically. That's a lot of pain sitting right next to the thing in his head that feeds on pain. Imagine Stranger Things. 5 leans into that. The party is focused on 11 versus Vecna, on closing gates, on leveling up, and meanwhile, Will is slowly changing. The connection in his neck stops being just a warning and starts becoming a temptation. He hears the Mind Flayer. It offers him power, a chance not to be the victim, not to be the kid in the back of the frame. For once, Will gets to be the one who decides what happens next. That's the beginning of a Kaz arc, so Will clouds over, maybe lashes out. Maybe, for a stretch of episodes, he becomes the enemy. The party has to fight one of their own. Henry, the Vecna we've known, doubles down as the visible threat. But the real story is inside Will's mind, where this war between the human boy and the thing that owns him is reaching a breaking point. And then we reach the classic Kaz moment. In D&D, Vecna gives Kaz the only weapon that can kill him. In Stranger Things, that weapon might not be a literal sword. It might be Will's psychic bond to the Mind Flayer. It might be a shared memory that can reach the core of the monster. It might be his love for his friends, focused through the very connection Vecna thinks he controls. In the final fight, Vecna uses Will as the perfect puppet, pouring his power through him, absolutely sure he cannot lose. And that's when Will turns. In a single burst of clarity, Will uses that power against the source. He channels everything the Mind Flayer gave him and detonates it back into Vecna. Maybe Henry/Cass is involved. Maybe both of them, the 2 most broken boys in this story, team up in one last act of rebellion. Either way, Cass does what Cass always does. He kills Vecna, and he dies with him. Will sacrifices himself to save the party. Henry finally breaks free of the thing that's been wearing his face. The level 20 problem gets solved not by brute force, but by tragic, heroic betrayal. Just like the D&D story has always promised. So I don't think Stranger Things ends with Henry was Vecna all along, the end. I think the real twist is that Henry Creel and Will Byers are both playing the Kaz role in different ways, and the true Vecna, the real mind behind the Flayer, is still waiting for someone he trusts to stab him in the heart. Whether you think Kaz is Henry, Will, or both, tell me in the comments who you want to see deal the killing blow. And if you're still watching, drop Kaz down below so I know you're part of the party.